Hi, hello, welcome back to one of my readings. Thank you very much for watching and for joining me today again. I appreciate your support, and it's really nice to know that there are people out there who like my story, so big thank you, merci to you all. Today you'll have a special treat because I'll be reading an excerpt from my upcoming novel, which has as yet not a firm name, but it's a new medieval murder mystery series set mostly here in the Languedoc region at the time of the Cathars and the crusades against them. Of course, at the time the Cathars were known as the Bons Chrétiens, the good Christians, and many of you will have heard about the persecutions by Pope Innocent III in particular and the French King Louis. So without further ado, I will take you not to Languedoc but to Rome, where we begin in 1215, where the Lateran Council takes place, and that's quite an important bit of local history. So welcome to the first of the Loup de Foix mysteries. Prologue. November 1215, Rome, the Archbasilica of Saints John the Baptist and John the Evangelist. The stark beauty of the basilica left no impression on the tall man clad in a long black cloak who waited behind a column near the entrance. Around him, men had begun to gather to discuss alliances and forge new ones. They talked in small groups, peeking over their shoulders from time to time, their voices hushed. Within a day, the Fourth Lateran Council, which Pope Innocent III had called, would begin. Already, hundreds of churchmen, lords and knights had arrived from as far as England, Greece and Byzantium. Tensions were rumbling beneath the surface. He snorted in disgust at their desperation and drew his hood lower over his face whilst his eyes searched the gathered crowds for the Lord who was to meet him. Politics was the game here with those people, not faith. That served only as a cover. Ultimately, it was all about power. And I helped those seeking more power further up the ladder, he grinned. Edgar, a hand on his shoulder, made him spin around, dirk hidden inside his palm, ready to be used if needed. Edgar recognized a brief moment of fear in the Lord's eyes when he spotted the weapon. His pulse quickened, as it always did when those facing him were afraid. "Ah, it's you, my lord. You should not creep up on me." "I did not." The knight squared his shoulders and straightened his back, bringing both men to the same height. It left no impression on Edgar. "Do you have it?" The lord nodded. A knight whose name Edgar must not speak out loud, else their plan was overheard. Guy de Montfort. The family was ambitious, well known in higher circles, and as long as they thrived, so would Edgar. This was not their first agreement. It had begun on a dull November morn 6 years ago when, on request, Edgar visited briefly the incarcerated Raymond Roger Trancavel, Viscount of Carcassonne. Trancavel had died that day without any sign of murder on his body. No proof was found of foul play. Edgar had been proud of his work. Henceforth, the de Montfort brothers would continue to seek Edgar's help and pay handsomely for his silence. "Yes, here." Guy de Montfort slipped him a pouch, which quickly disappeared beneath black folds. The lord then handed Edgar a piece of parchment folded into a square. Edgar stared at the letter, which bore the seal of Raymond de Saint-Gilles, Count of Toulouse. Slowly he understood and tucked it away safely. "Your man will be eating at the Taverna Tiberia alone tonight without his brethren, awaiting a message from the Count. Do you know where that tavern is?" Edgar nodded. De Montfort clutched his arm, his cheeks flushed. "You give him the letter to read, then do what you must whilst he is distracted by the tidings. You must not fail, and the letter must be found with the monk. The hearing is in 4 days' time. If he speaks out, it will have consequences for us all." That's the first sneak preview of the prologue. And then I want to introduce you to our main character, Loup. November 1215, Rome. The air in the Taverna Tiberia hung heavy with smoke from the large hearth fire when Loup de Foix followed his father and brother inside. Pushing back his hood, Loup blinked as the acrid smell stung his eyes, and he argued with himself whether it was preferable to be out in the cold winds that swept through the rain-drenched lanes, or in this stinking place, but warm. Coming to a halt at a table his father had chosen, he untied his damp cloak, shook it out, shrugging off cries from men at neighbouring tables, and dropped it on the edge of a bench, then sat down beside it. Bernard, his older half-brother, shuffled in next to him. During his first foray east beyond Béziers, the sight of the ancient city of Rome should have impressed Loup. But all he had noticed so far were overcrowded inns and streets streaming with refuse from the hundreds, if not thousands, of men who had arrived to attend the Lateran Council. A pigsty smells better, his father, Count Roger of Foix, grunted as he settled himself on the bench opposite his sons. A pigsty in Foix does, joked Bernard. Loup snorted. "'Tis true, there's no air here. The whole place reeks." "Well, son, it's an ancient city." "So is Toulouse," Loup countered, shaking his head. "Yes, but Toulouse is far more provincial compared to Rome," Bernard argued, then waved to a stout woman collecting empty tankards. She stopped beside Loup, leaning over their table. "Good evening, my lords. What can I bring you?" "3 tankards of your finest ale, please, good wife," his father ordered. "And what do you have to eat? We've been out all day." "As is everyone else, it seems," she laughed. "We have pottage, but," she said conspiratorially, "that's what the monks prefer. For strapping lords like yourselves, I'd suggest a hearty beef broth." Loup kept his eyes on his father to escape the view of her ample cleavage close to his face. His father grinned as if he had guessed too. The beef broth will do us, thank you." "Anything else?" She looked from father to sons. Loup shook his head. Once she had sauntered off, white hips swaying, he let out a deep breath. Bernard slapped his back. "She liked you." 5 years Loup senior and happily married, his brother's interest lay in buildings and defence structures, not women. But Bernard never missed a chance to wind him up. "She's old." Loup's face reddened. At 5 and 10 years of age, and coming from a small town close to the Pyrenean mountains, he was not used to attention from mature women. It was usually the girls, giggling and shy, who made eyes at him when their fathers did not pay attention. But so far he had been too preoccupied to venture any further than stealing a few kisses. Fighting was more to his liking, and he was itching to join in. His home region of Languedoc had seen many battles and sieges in recent years, especially since the Pope and the French king had launched their so-called crusade against the Bons Chrétiens, who were seen as heretics. "Don't worry, Loup, we'll protect you," his father chuckled. "But you had better get used to it, as you and Bernard will be staying here for the Senate, or however long it takes for the Pope to decide on our petition." Right, so that's a little kind of glimpse at what's to come fairly soon. Hopefully it'll be released in June, July at the very latest, and it'll be the first in a murder mystery series set around the Mediterranean. But latterly it'll be mainly here in the Languedoc. So once our lovely isolation, our confinement is lifted and places are open, I hope to visit the castle at Foix to get a better idea. It's another one of those castles high up on the hill, so it'll be very interesting to walk in the footsteps of Loup, who was a real character. At the time, he was an illegitimate son of the Count of Toulouse, and he was quite well respected from the records. So watch this space for more details very soon. Take care, be safe, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you for listening. Bye.